This book was published 16 years ago. This book was published well before the advent of study YouTubers, iPads, Notion, Notability, and all these online flashcard systems. And I think that's a testament to just how well the advice in this book actually works. In 2006, Cal Newport, the author, interviewed hundreds of Ivy Leaguers because apparently they're the gold standard for what we should all be doing, and he documented their tips in 3 sections in this book, namely general study tips, test tips, and essay strategies, all to help us do well in this book and apparently get an A. Hey guys, if you're new here, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shivara Naidu and I'm a 6th year medical student at UCT. This is the first episode of a book club that I plan on doing. The next book we'll be evaluating is on the 20th of April. I plan on doing these bi-monthly, so every 2 weeks. And the next book that we have planned is Lives of the Stoics by Ryan Holiday. So if you'd like to join me along and be part of this lovely little book club we're gonna have going on, please feel free to grab a copy and also leave any suggestions for future books you would like me to read in the comments down below. In this video, we're going to be discussing what I liked in the book, what I learned from the book, and eventually the part that we all want to know is, does it actually work and what were my results? As always, I value your time, so in the description box, we will have timestamps for each section. Let's crack on. I like that it was practical advice. Most of the study tips given these days seem to exist in this utopian society where we as students have the ability to pull 26-hour days just studying. Apparently we don't have any social commitments or any family commitments and work commitments other than academics, and this book really does take into account the fact that we are multidimensional people and we have to sometimes work with deadlines under pressure. I also like the fact that this book gave us practical advice into the mindset of an A student rather than just being like, oh, this is our mark, let's just be results orientated, because I really hate being results orientated. There's nothing you can do about changing the grade that you got, but the amount of work and the input that you put in and what kind of work you're doing is in our control. So I think that's where the focus should be, as is well described in this book. I learned about something called pseudo work versus deep work. Pseudo work is sort of like most of the days that we spend studying, where we allocate the entire day to working and unfortunately not a lot gets done. A lot of time is spent procrastinating. He describes deep work as 3 things, namely where we're going to work, when we're going to work, and what are we working on. He recommends that we be specific with what we plan to achieve in the set 2 hours that is perhaps isolated. So we go to a coffee shop and we're realistic about exactly what we're going to accomplish in those 2 hours. And he also recommends, after a session of deep work, planning a leisure activity. So going out with our friends, going for a walk, just taking a break so we in our mind mentally know when we're doing deep work we're actually productive, and when we're not, we're actually taking a break, rather than doing pseudo work, which is that gray area we all kind of get stuck in between. Another cool tip that I learned was something called autopilot schedule. So he recommends, if we're going to do a pop quiz, for instance, every Friday, we should have an autopilot schedule in our daily lives. So every Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. we know we're going to be reading whatever content for this Friday test. That way we don't need any extrinsic motivation when it comes down to the actual sitting time and sitting down and actually getting it done. It becomes so much easier when our brain's just like, okay, every Wednesday from this time to this time I do this. I feel like it eliminates a lot of external resistance, and personally I found that this really helped me. Last and finally, interesting tip that I learned was the quiz and recall tip. He recommends that when we do our class notes, we sort of make it into an active recall type of vibes, that when we come back to our notes, we just glance at them and we're able to test ourselves on what we know and what we don't know. An example of this would be folding your piece of paper in half, or if you're using an iPad to take notes, just drawing a line down the middle of the page and writing questions and the answers from our notes, if you're into taking notes. That way when you're looking back at your notes, you can just be like, oh, what were the side effects of lithium? And then you sort of have it. With Notion, I use the toggle list function for that, so it becomes really easy at a glance to just be like, what do I know, what don't I know, and testing yourself. And the whole active recall is really great, and it's gaining a lot of momentum in general society today, because that is how we spend the least amount of time and get the best grades, rather than highlighting and writing these beautiful notes which aren't really going to help us. For the test prep section, he recommends doing lots of practice tests, lots of problem questions that our teachers gave us, because naturally the questions that they're going to give you is kind of what's going to come out in the exam. As a university student, basically just going over Vula quizzes. At UCT we use Vula, but going over those quizzes again and again so that you understand where the teacher got each question from, and if you don't really understand it, going back, reading through the chapter, trying to figure out which section it came out from, especially if it doesn't look familiar, because obviously maybe you're missing an entire concept in your mind that like is important and the teacher thinks it's important, but maybe you didn't think it was important. For the essay section, I kind of did skim through this, to be honest, because in medicine we don't have to do essays, but if I had known about this in high school, I think it would have saved me a lot of time, especially in English. But it's basically going through your reading list throughout the year and highlighting any quotes that you think is cool and keeping it all in one place. So he recommends like photocopying it and all of that, but this was 2006. Nowadays we have Notion, we have Word, we have access to laptops. So finally, now from a side note, one of the tips he gives is purchasing a laptop, because I think it was a new invention in 2006, but now most students do have that, or do have access to that. Basically, get all your quotes, keep it in a certain place, and then when time comes around to actually doing an essay, it helps to just skim through these quotes, and you kind of tend to see a recurring pattern, and that's what helps you find original essay topic ideas. And you've already got all your evidence there, so you don't even need to go back and skim through these essays and try and figure out what's going on. You've already got your points to substantiate what your topic's going to be about, and it's going to be really original. So the part that we're all waiting for, what were the results of implementing the strategies that Cal Newport suggested? To be honest, I really did practice what he said, and I read this book a year ago, and I still actually implement, especially time blocking and active recall in my daily studying routine. I do notice that my marks have definitely improved, but what was more noticeably apparent is that I was able to spend less time, and the fact that I was scheduling leisure activities into my life, it felt like I was doing less work and I was having more fun, but I was also getting great grades. So it was like having a bit of both worlds, rather than previously I think I spent a lot of time working and I would just allocate entire days for studying and I wouldn't plan those breaks. So when I did take those breaks, it would come with a whole lot of guilt and I would feel like I was going to do badly because of it. But what I really took away from this was being able to study smartly and plan breaks, so enjoy my social life, enjoy my university life, and do well, which is what I think we all really want to be able to do. I recommend this book for all university students, but especially if I had found this book in grade 10 and 11, I think it would have saved me a lot of heartache and trial and error through the years. I recommend you guys get a copy of this, but do keep in mind this book was written in 2006, so lots of things are updated. You can go on the internet, there's so many resources for different apps and everyone has different methods of implementing active recall, and I recommend you do some more research into that. But even just the simple page technique of folding your page in half and having questions on one side and answers on the other would really be a game changer for you. I hope you guys found this useful. I do hope that you check out this book, which was really cool. And if you enjoy Cal Newport's writing, he actually does have a more recent book that was published, I think last year, and it was called Deep Work. I haven't personally read this yet, but I have seen a lot of YouTubers discussing it, and it seems to be like a really good book, so it probably might feature in this series in the future. It might feature in this series in the future. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching my channel. I appreciate every single one of you. Again, if you have any recommendation for books, please will you leave it in the comment section down below, and I appreciate all of you. Hope you enjoyed this video. Amor Fati. May life come with its challenges and may we embrace them openly. I will see you in the next video, and if you would like to see me struggling through medical school, living my life, studying so much, please check out one of my other vlogs. Bye bye!